I suppose, hello, Jim, and welcome. Could you please just introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Sure. So my name's Jim Fielder. I'm the lead for Living Well services at the Terrence Higgins Trust.
Fantastic. So I think one of the first questions I wanted to ask was at the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic, the conversation around HIV, people living with HIV was sort of a worried one, with people thinking they might be at risk, which has obviously proven to largely not be a concern. But what do you think we should be talking about with regards to the pandemic and the lockdown and people living with HIV? How should that conversation move forward?
Well, I think certainly initially in the first sort of few weeks of the pandemic, we had a lot of people calling up, our THT Direct helpline and contacting us about, worries that they had around, the link between HIV and COVID-19, and so we spent a lot of time trying to sort of reassure people, put out information about that. I think what's changed, things have kind of calmed down a bit on that in the last sort of 2 or 3 weeks, and I think what we're getting a lot more now is people who are concerned about work, concerned about the future, concerned about their mental health. We're getting quite high levels of kind of anxiety and loneliness coming through. People are concerned about about money, and about kind of their security, food security. So those are kind of the issues that are kind of emerging at the moment.
Have you done some monitoring with some interesting insights that have come out about your service users?
I'm in quite regular contact with different people in the organisation providing different services. So those are the kind of things that are coming out, and we're seeing, for example, much higher levels of interest in services like online counselling. We're seeing an increase in people wanting to access hardship support because we have a hardship fund, and our kind of benefits and advice service is really busy. So it's not anecdotal. We're seeing very real changes in terms of demand for different services at the moment. Yeah.
So I've seen you've launched THT at Home.
Yeah.
And could you tell me a little bit about what this is, and who it's for, and what you're doing with it?
Okay, so THT at Home is a kind of new information and support hub, sort of created by us to try and put sort of all of the services kind of in one place, so that people who are we're all in lockdown. It's somewhere for people to go where they can kind of access all of their services in one place, and they're all really online services because all of our face-to-face services have been stopped. So and I think the main kind of driver that came out that contributed to creating THT at Home was our online counselling service, because we've been running online counselling at THT for some time, and obviously also face-to-face counselling services as well. But we had to stop those, so we wanted to repurpose, all of our counselling and emotional support into one new kind of streamlined online service. So that really kind of formed the centrepiece of the THT at Home service, and then we've kind of built other or put existing services kind of wrapping around that. So we've got our THT Direct helpline. We've got information and advice around HIV and COVID-19 as well as part of that. We've been also running a series of kind of online Zoom groups. Again, all of our kind of peer support, we had to stop all of the face-to-face stuff around that. So we created a program of online peer support So that was, around. Well, actually, we were particularly concerned around, because as I said earlier, we've seen a lot of people with, high levels of anxiety and mental health issues. So we wanted to do something around helping people to live well in lockdown. So we created a series of sort of peer support sessions called Living Well in Lockdown. Looking at helping people to stay well, build their resilience, look how they could kind of manage change and uncertainty, so issues around that. So that's part of the THT at Home program as well. We've got our peer support that we offer for people who are long-term diagnosed with HIV as well. And then we have My HIV, which is our peer support online forum, which has been going for quite some time as well. That forms part of it. And then finally, we also have some information around how people can access low cost and free sort of HIV self-test kits and STI postal kits and stuff like that.
What would you say to the people who are thinking, maybe I'm struggling at the moment and some of this stuff sounds very appealing? Is there space for them?
Yeah, no, I mean, I would definitely say, reach out. I mean, we've got capacity in our counselling service at the moment. And I think, yeah, you're right. I think some people have felt they don't want to be a burden. And, particularly people reaching out to perhaps access kind of health services. But although there has been obviously a cessation or reduction in a lot of face-to-face sexual health services, most clinics are offering support.
Could you tell us a little bit about what this is about? That we've seen this from sexual health charities, that we have a kind of unique opportunity at the moment with regards to the transmission of HIV.
Yeah, so I think lockdown definitely sort of presents us with a quite an unexpected opportunity, really, to really sort of change the course of the HIV epidemic and break the chain of infection. Obviously, fewer people are hooking up for sex and have been for the last couple of months, and therefore there will have been fewer HIV transmissions. And the fact that it takes a month for for HIV to show up, from infection to testing, presents a real opportunity, because it's now we've been in lockdown for a couple of months. Most people are outside of that window period for HIV testing. So having a test now can really take us one step closer to kind of reaching that goal of zero new HIV transmissions by 2030. So knowing your HIV status is the starting point of preventing transmission. So it really does present us an opportunity to encourage people to go out and test before we get to the end of lockdown.
So when you say go out and test, that's an interesting turn of phrase, because yes, some people will be like, I think a lot of people will think, yes, I'd love to get a test. They probably are. I mean, I don't think sexual health clinics are actually open at the moment, are they? So how do they get a hold of one if they don't want to buy one? Because they are available to purchase, but a lot of people, that won't be within their means.
Yeah, and this is the challenge. This is the biggest challenge we have around breaking the chain of transmission, because, as you say, most face-to-face services are closed. So really what we're doing is we're encouraging people to to order postal self-testing kits, and depending on where you are in the country will kind of depend how easy that is to access. But certainly if you're in London, if people go onto the Sexual Health London SHL.uk website, they can order kits. And there's also the NHS freetesting.hiv site as well, which is where people can get kits as well. So there are free kits available. I think for people who are outside of London, it's worth contacting, their local authority. I mean, just Google, sexual health services in your borough, and you'll probably find something. Hopefully, that would be the way to look for it.
For someone whose anxiety is that they are concerned about getting a positive diagnosis at this time when they're isolated, what is available to them to help them through were that to be the case?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, and I think I suppose the first thing I'd say around that is, and we always say this to anyone, if you're HIV positive, if you get a positive diagnosis, you will be able to access effective treatment straight away, which will suppress the virus and prevent it passing you on to others. So, and it's the best way to protect your health. So, I think in terms of obviously dealing with the shock of that and the difficulty around that, we have our THT Direct helpline, which is always there for people if they want to call up and talk to anyone if they're having difficulties around accepting that. We've got information on our website around dealing with a new diagnosis as well. So, but also I think some people will feel differently about whether they want to talk about it with others, but I'd always encourage people to try and talk to someone close to them about it if they get a positive diagnosis. Generally, people are surprised at how supportive and caring people are, and especially at the moment, I think there's a sense that there's a lot of kindness out there right now, and I think there's a lot of understanding, particularly at the moment. So I think that's also worth bearing in mind.
There is a lot of goodwill out there, and people want to know how they can help in any way they can. And usually the sort of usual volunteering they would do for people in our sector is going out and bucket rattling and doing community engagement. Is there any way during this time people can contribute and help other people living with HIV?
I mean, I think I would say kind of in a general way, it's about just showing kindness to others at the moment. Whether that's kind of online or in person. There can be sometimes quite a lot of harshness, on the apps, for example, in the way people talk to each other. And so I think it's just about showing some kindness and actually reaching out to people as well, reaching out to people that you may know people that are living with HIV. So, just check in with them, see if they're doing okay. And calling people up, can make a really, really big difference to someone, especially if they're living alone or they're self-isolating. I think that's really important. I mean, I had a friend of mine called up a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't call him back for a couple of weeks, till recently. And I, when I called him up, he was kind of, I really kind of needed a chat at the time. And I hadn't, he hadn't said that in his message, so I didn't realize that. And it just made me think, it's really important to be just a bit more mindful of people when they reach out to you, that, whereas before they might have just been calling for a chat, but actually right now people are maybe looking for something a bit more. So I think it's just kind of, showing kindness to others, but also showing kindness to yourself. I think that's really important, because it's 2 months in now, and it's tough, I think, for a lot of people for lots of different reasons. And people, I think, are dealing with this lockdown in such a wide variety of ways. Sometimes people feel like they're kind of imprisoned, in their home, and they may be having difficulties with people they live with. They may be even suffering types of abuse, or so. But then other people are dealing with it really well, and may actually be finding that by being at home, they're not having to go out and not go out and face the world, which can cause them lots of anxiety.